Yo, 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 yo. Hey, everyone. Welcome to UploadVR Gamescast, live every single Thursday. I'm Zeena. I'm going to be your host. And with me, as always, is Jamie Feltham, who I feel is going to grumble about something.
I have an apology to make.
Oh.
To Meta.
Okay. Oh, here we go.
Meta. Your user interface design, or Facebook or whatever you're called, who even knows anymore? Your user interface design is still terrible. Really bad. But someone's done it worse than you now. The new Android update is
gotcha.
terrible. And I feel like you can get let off the hook just a little bit because all these weird little bubbles on my smartphone. Whoever thought that was a good idea? On with the show.
Cool. Of course, we are not alone in this show. We are live on YouTube. I'm going to say hey to Gary Redfield 1, Skiva, Dragosh, there's Adam Hutzel, the absolute boy, Don, Onikazi, Fantaz 1986. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Of course, there are some very special people in the chat as well, our members, and I'm going to give shout out to all of our members now. Skiva, 6060 Bicycle, Devin Miller, Matthew May, Rick Tett, Robin Quinona, Steve Evans, Smash Reality, Adam Hartzell, John Westra, and Dominic Freckman. Thank you so much for supporting us month after month. Consider supporting us if you're not a member. If you just want to do a little so-and-so, just a little so-and-so to brighten up our day, consider sending us a super chat or buying one of the t-shirts down below. Yes, Jamie?
Anderson, I have a Pixel 3a. That's my phone. That was once really good, but now is ugly as sin.
Yeah, it's Android 12. Yeah, Android 12 is disgusting. I haven't updated yet. I've also got a Google Pixel.
I don't know, Adam. Where is your Upload coffee mug?
Do you know what?
Did you buy one?
Later today, once this is done, I'm going to make a coffee mug as well.
You're going to make one?
I'll just put a coffee mug on the store. I've just got 2 t-shirts, like a unisex one and a women's one.
I'm sure there's probably some merchandising for the Amazon show Upload. You could always buy that and just pretend it does.
No, don't.
I don't think we have any kind of financial benefit from you doing that. But if you really want a coffee mug, I'm sure there's an Upload TV show one.
Anyway, this week we've got a few news stories, and then we're going to get into After the Fall, our impressions of it, because Jamie got his hands on it, and it looks pretty darn good. Good. We've got our impressions up on the website and on YouTube right now, but we'll go over it a little bit more.
My hands are literally on After the Fall. Ooh. Now they're on Medal of Honor, but I haven't done that yet, so that's falsification.
But first, of course, the Upload VR Showcase is back on December 2nd, not February 12th or whatever you thought it was. December.
December.
I've written it out now. Okay.
No typos in December.
I don't think
URL's
so.
Good.
I've gotten quite cocky lately. I don't check my spelling in any of the videos anymore.
Yeah, now you're a real journalist. Does this need to go through a sub-editor? Does it? No way. Straight up.
Anyway, the footage that you can see, the games that you can see on this trailer, which you can check out right here on our Upload VR YouTube channel. These are all from this year's June's showcase. This summer's showcase, which included titles like Nerf VR, Demio, Township Tale, Frack, Sniper Elite VR, After the Fall, believe it or not, and many more. Lots of you guys.
How long that game has been around, I absolutely believe that After the Fall was involved in that showcase, and the showcase before it, and the showcase before it, and the showcase before it.
It was literally our first ever announcement on the first ever when it was called E3 VR Showcase.
Which feels so long ago, but was actually only 2.5 years ago. It could be like 5 years ago.
Or 2018.
It was 2019.
Yeah.
And this is going to be our 5th showcase now.
Oh my God.
That is...
it feels like
nuts.
it.
Yep.
But you sent out a tweet earlier saying that this might be the best showcase lineup ever.
Here's the thing about having done these showcases the last 2 years. Don't know if you've heard of this little thing called COVID, but it happened. And it meant that both years running, some of our biggest reveals kind of had to be pushed back a little bit because, like teams are clearly like very scattered for very understandable reasons right now. And it feels like we're kind of catching up. And even though I was expecting this show to be a little on the smaller side, some of the stuff we are proud to present and reveal is like, oh, okay, cool,
all right,
cool.
Yeah, cool. It's pretty big. There's some actual new, completely world premiere reveals, hopefully. Yeah. I'm pretty sure.
I will be standing in a stage like Jeff Keighley.
Yeah.
Making all kinds of memes
on my Doritos in the back.
to get noticed. Yeah.
Skiva says, oh, you tease best showcase ever. No, not ever, because there's always room to get better.
Best showcase yet.
Yet, for sure. So yeah, November 2nd. We're not sure the time exactly. That hasn't been confirmed yet, but it will most probably be in the morning for US citizens and or just people in the US. You don't have to be a citizen. Or in the evening for Europe and our kind of area. And who knows about the rest of the world? Middle of the night. Pretty sure. Anyway, let's move on. Let's get through some of these stories. Because we're actually going to start off with a really, really weird story. If you could get the image up for it.
Just an image. Yeah.
An image. So Schell Games, developer behind I Expect You to Die 1 and 2, we all know very well and we love. They're making a new VR experience that you can play in your car. It's called Cloudbreaker, and it was revealed during a talk at the AWE event in Santa Clara this week. It's being built for HoloRide, a platform that tracks locational and navigational data from a vehicle and implements it into VR experiences. Jamie, tell us more about this, because what the heck is going on here?
Yeah, it's quite an interesting one. So Aura is one of those kind of like, not low-key, it's actually a pretty cool event in the immersive industry calendar. But that's where you get to see a lot of crazy ideas that people are working on, and HoloRide is one of them. The idea being that you don't, obviously the driver doesn't put a VR headset on because that would be the worst idea of all time. But
that's the kind of vibe I was getting from it, almost like a Tesla kind of play
I
games.
guess you could they would like to envision a future where, if you have a Tesla and the auto drive stuff is completely trustworthy, then you could zone out a bit. But that's a long way off if that's possible at all. But they're thinking more in-car entertainment for people in the back of a car for now.
Kind of like when all those fancy cars had little DVD players and little screens in the backs of the seats.
Yeah, exactly. But this time VR headsets. And so the idea is, you put it on and it uses the fact that you are feeling the motions of a car going in the experience. So Schell Games' game, Cloudbreaker, this is just promotional art, but I can get I think I have it. Yeah, here we go. Is kind of like if anyone's played Yuki, the game from the Pixar Rip guys, where you kind of like, it's like a bullet hell game. Yeah, and it's on the PSVR next week as well. It's kind of like a Yuki kind of game, like a third person shmup, I suppose, or bullet hell shooter in a way. Where you just travel along in a straight line and avoid enemies and bring your character up to defeat them with this little spear thing it looks like they're holding.
This is very Samurai Jack vibe.
It's quite good looking, isn't it? I think this is
like it.
And you are meant to be feeling kind of the rush of moving forward yourself. And there's actually a video. If you check out our article on Upload that went up a few hours ago, there's a Twitter video where Jesse Schell, the CEO of Schell Games, is talking about it and saying, because you have that finally have that sense of locomotion in VR, like your body is actually registering the way you're moving. It actually makes quite an interesting powerful experience. Then he said something about the metaverse. It's like, oh, why? I don't want the metaverse in a car, but maybe I'm just being short-sighted. And
Drink every time Jamie says meta.
No, don't. Value your safety. It's an interesting idea. It's one of those things where you sit back and think, yeah, but there's no way in hell this is going to catch on anytime soon. The only way I could see this catching on anytime soon is like this kind of expensive trinket / gimmick in limo rides, right? Like a hen do.
Yeah.
Where you can put on, what do you call it in the US? Is it a hen do in the US as well?
Oh yeah, what is it?
I mean, it could be a bachelor party as well, or anything, Yeah, where everyone's just taking turns in a limousine at like the start of the day. That could be pretty fun. They have like lines on the bottom of the game area that are like, they look like wind but indicate the direction of the road. And then they said they're still looking into things like slowing down when you're going to get stuck in traffic or turns in a highway or whatever.
Yeah.
It's a very, very interesting idea. I thought it was very cool to talk about. It's definitely not the next big Schell Games VR game. I don't think they're going to be talking about and publicizing this one on the scale they would, and I Expect You to Die or an Until You Fall. But that's kind of why I like these guys so much, is because they are just ready to innovate and explore in areas that you think would be totally irresponsible to do so.
So of course, chat has got all the all the comments you could expect. Jadoranko really gets into it. He says sick bags. You can hang one of those sick bags below the headset where you'd attach a mouth tracker.
Yeah.
It's just basically sicky vibes, isn't it?
That's the thing, right? It's like, yeah, I get that you have this sense of motion that you don't have when you're standing still and holding a analog stick forward. But as a man that's somewhat susceptible to travel sickness in general, I don't think I could really easily picture myself putting on a VR headset and stomaching that.
Do you know what? I feel sick just sitting in here. Not anything against the podcast, but wearing a headset for like an hour or 2 hours is like, oh.
And now imagine if the podcast was shooting forward at the speed of light and we were just sitting here not feeling any of it and we were just throwing up every couple of words. I guess the way you could think about it though, right, is, yeah, sure, there's this, why would you leave an Oculus Quest 2 in the backseat of a car for someone to put it on, because it's still a big bulky headset? But when you talk about something like the Vive Flow, which is literally just something you could like maybe tuck into the backseat of a car pocket, and then you get on the road, and you could just take that out, and like, say you've got a 6-hour drive somewhere, you could just zone out, watch some Netflix and everything like that, with like a window in the movie theater that gives you some sense of the motion. Maybe I could see that working a bit more than. I don't think I'd want to end up playing full-on VR games inside a car.
A couple of people are a bit confused by Hendu. It's the party that a bride would have before they're married with all of the bridesmaids.
So in the UK, and I apologise for yet more Britishisms. In the UK, the groom's one is called a stag do, and the bride's one is called a hen do. But I know in the US it's called a bachelor party. Oh, and a bachelorette.
Bachelorette. Yeah,
there you go. We figured it out. There. We Americanized successfully. Well done.
Skiva is over here saying that they can go 12 to 15 hours in a headset sometimes. Absolutely not. Oh, bridal shower is what some people say.
Bridal shower and hen's night. Everyone's coming up with different names for it.
Oh, yes, it is hen's night. And
Can you put a YouTube poll on for bachelorette party, bridal shower, or hen's night?
Anyway, cool. Well, that's that from Schell Games. Hopefully that is alongside something else. Who knows that they are developing.
Well, yeah, they hinted a couple of months ago that their next actual VR game, or an actual VR game they're working on right now, is going to make interesting use of physics, but I have no idea how far out
it's this. Boys Cheeky Night Out. Yeah, that is exactly what it's called, actually.
Yeah.
Moving
Cheeky
on,
Nando's
we have
with the
got...
lads.
That's all I want, Cheeky Nando's. Anyway, forever. We have a release date for Medal of Honor on Quest 2, which is November 15th. It will cost $39.99 and will support cross-buy for those of you who have bought it for Rift, only on the Oculus platform. Sorry, I'm going to really insert myself into the story as well. It's only the second most important thing on November 15th. It's also my birthday. Anyway, Jamie, do you think they are going to bring it over to Quest successfully?
I was looking at some screenshots earlier today and I thought, oh, that looks a bit better than I imagined it would. But, you know, there's this thing in the screenshot world where you take, or PR or companies' marketing takes bull shots, as we like to call them.
Ooh.
Where it ends up looking a little bit better than that actually is. But I don't know. I guess it's worth clarifying that we don't have access to Medal of Honor above and beyond, and I would expect maybe there's an element of Facebook not wanting the game to come out and there being a bunch of graphics comparisons there straight away, because that will be the sort of thing where even if they've done a good job, it might not necessarily look very favorable for them.
Anything compared to PC VR version,
well, this
it's
thing
just
was
not going to look as good.
Graphics card melting, like behemoth, right? So I can't imagine like some of the sacrifices they're going to have made. We're going to have to spend a really, really long time, I think, digging into the very subtle differences that the game's going to have. I think we can do something quite quickly and interestingly about the graphical differences. Maybe let's record the first couple of levels or something like that, and see how it stacks up. But you know, the whole thing about Medal of Honor was it was meant to be these good, really interactive environments. So how much of that is going to stay? Am I not going? Are some items going to be missing? Am I not going to be able to pick things up? Is performance going to be all right across the board? Because I wasn't getting great performance out of Blade and Sorcery last week, which was a first for Quest 2 especially. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. I'm excited though, because like even though like this is a game that I think when it came out there was this kind of lukewarm reception to it. I think people had a lot of problems. I personally haven't played it. I should put out there. David played it. Someone called David Jagged No
We're still doing
did it
this,
back in the day. And apparently he used to work here. It's weird. But he said it was good. It had pacing issues, and I don't. Even though you know those same structural problems are definitely going to be there on Quest, if they pull it off on a technical and performance level, it's still going to be one of the biggest Quest games by like a country mile, right? Like it's still going to be a big deal, I think.
Huge. I mean, the price tag kind of indicates that as well, right? $40.
Yeah, I think so. That's
quite
the
hefty.
same price as Resi 4 was, I think. That's definitely on the top end. I don't think we've seen. Well, maybe they have on the PC side, but I don't think we've seen them charge $60 for anything on Quest 2 yet, which is
60,
interesting.
No. Yeah, no. Well, the thing is, it's. I don't think they ever will be able to do that. To be honest,
I think they could.
Will games ever be that like large or like AAA enough to
I think
warrant
so.
it?
I think the thing is what we're seeing a lot of in this first year or two of Quest, right, is your Resident Evil 4s, your PC VR ports, your San Andreas, and that's kind of like spacing out the time for Oculus Studios and any other potential partnerships to create those full-blown things. Because I mean, think about
that's true.
If Ubisoft delivers on a full, well, so they kind of are in a way. If Ubisoft delivers on a full-blown Splinter Cell or Assassin's Creed, like I don't know, it is hard to imagine like that Assassin's Creed game being the size of one of the more recent 100 hours ones.
Oh,
but like maybe Splinter Cell, for example, if they manage to get like a cool 20-hour campaign, maybe some co-op modes in there or something like that.
Yeah.
I could see them making a full game's worth of content out of that. But that's a really interesting thing to think about. Like, will we see the $60 Quest 2 game in the next year or two as we move into the next wave of standalone VR content.
Speaking of big numbers, isn't this meant to take up all of your Quest space?
If you have the original 64 gigabyte Quest 2, I think it's going to weigh in at somewhere between 45 to
Woof.
50. And I think
Jeez.
53. You need 53 gigabytes of space to install it, or that's how much free space you have when you actually get your Quest 2. So,
and I guess that's not to mention all the other like things that you need to have on your Quest that would take up space.
Yeah.
So it's never like a true 64, is it?
Yeah, I think exactly. People will manage to fit it on there. I saw some people saying, "Oh man, I'll have to sell my Quest 2." It's like, no, you won't. You'll just have to delete everything for a few days while you play this. But then again, if you want to keep the multiplayer on your Quest 2 as that go-to thing every now and again, then you're gonna have some issues.
Yes. Adam Hartzell thinks that San Andreas will be $40 as well. He says 100%.
Yeah, I don't think you can charge full price for San Andreas alone, seeing as the definitive edition is coming out on console and PC today as a full thing. So you can't just take a third of that, cut it out, and try and get away with charging what you charged back in 2005, 2006 for it, or whatever, maybe 2004. So I think I don't know. I don't know what is on the horizon. I don't know if we have a price for after the fall yet, but I don't think it will be $60. But I don't hold me to that.
I thought we did.
Maybe we.
It's not going to be 60. I thought
maybe
it was 40.
We do. Let me check on my phone while we go to the next thingy, but I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I'm just going to say thank you to everyone who wished me a happy birthday for Monday. Thank you very much. And happy birthday to Luppy's father, who has the same birthday as myself and Medal of Honor Quest 2. Very, very much appreciated.
Same birthday as Medal of Honor.
On Quest 2. Anyway, third story. Third and final story. We're going to talk more about, these larger scaled games. Take-Two CEO Strauss Zelnick, who previously wasn't VR's biggest fan, has taken a 180 and says that it's really exciting. So we could expect more GTA VR beyond San Andreas VR, which was, of course, announced at Facebook Connect. What was it? A couple of weeks ago now.
2 weeks ago now, I think.
Yeah.
It was 2 weeks ago.
What do you make of that?
I think it's really, really funny because I tweeted last week that one of my favorite running jokes on Upload is to check in on what Strauss Zelnick says about VR in their kind of Take-Two financial calls that they have to do because they're a giant company that owns two of the biggest video game publishers. And he always kind of very dismissively says, "Oh, we didn't waste any money on VR. Oh, I never thought VR was very good. Oh, it's just a buzzword. AR is going to be a lot better and everything like that." And it's like, Strauss, you do realize you've made 3 VR games and are making a 4th now, right? You do that is on your radar, right, Strauss? Strauss, you listening, Strauss? And now suddenly with GTA San Andreas coming out, he was like, "Oh, actually, I've been quite positive about VR in the past. I said something along the lines of, I was cautious about it making me motion sick and stuff, but we'll go where the players are." And it's like, oh yeah, of course you're saying that. Now you've suddenly realized that your biggest property by a country mile is coming to the Quest 2. But it's interesting to think about where they could potentially take this next. 2K obviously got involved with NBA 2K 2020. Well, it was like a spin-off thing, just a small little app. And then obviously VR, LA Noire, the VR case files, which was like an abridged version of LA Noire, the team of which is now working on San Andreas. And there was Borderlands 2.
Yes.
Is what I mean. So, off the top of my head, potentially more Borderlands, potentially Borderlands 3 VR if that becomes a thing. Or maybe, Quest ports of Borderlands, the original Borderlands would always go down well as well. And I think here's the thing I always go back to on when it comes to Take-Two and VR is that I think, Red Dead Redemption 2 was a game that went down well, but it was so steeped in a lot of like, not archaic, but like heavy, demanding focus in terms of the gameplay that I actually don't. I feel like it was a game a bit ahead of its time. It didn't work well holding a controller. There was too much slipperiness. There were too many systems to interact with. You ended up accidentally pointing a gun at someone and they'd run a mile in the middle of a mission. You'd be like, oh, what do I do now? I've always very strongly felt that Red Dead 2 would be vastly improved in VR. Bearing in mind it is a ridiculously large challenge to bring that game to VR. Like, the idea that it might run on PS5 still seems like a bit of a stretch given the size of the world, the complexity of the world. That's where I see it going. And there's GTA 5 VR as well, potentially. That would be giantly huge. Giantly. There's it all goes back to PSVR 2 at the end of the day. Yeah, great. Quest is getting San Andreas.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking.
Quest is getting Resi 4. These are great games that I'm very, very glad to be going back to visit in VR. But they're not like Sony's real ace in the hole here is the chance to say, actually, let's throw, however many million at Rockstar to spend 6 to 12 months doing an update that they can then charge like $30 extra or whatever. Because I would pay yet more money to GTA 5 to play it in VR for sure.
Again, this I was just thinking, as long as it's not a Quest exclusive, I would be super down for that. If anything, I'd rather it be a PSVR 2 exclusive, because then you wouldn't have all of this. Oh, are they gonna censor it? Or are they gonna do this? No, it's just gonna be the game on the platform that it should be on, and it's just going to have an adaptation, like a VR adaptation, just like what Sony's been saying their strategy for PSVR 2 is going to be anyway. And it just makes sense. Like, Facebook is just coming away from PC VR stuff. It's coming away from all of that. It doesn't make sense to have these massive games on their platform whatsoever.
I feel like, there's that interesting thing about, since we had that discussion about GTA in that, and I don't want to get into it again because it's a heavy subject, and maybe we'll talk about it again once the game is actually out. But the comparison,
go for it.
The comparison trailer showed they'd removed a Confederate flag, I think, in one point. I think, anyway, that's what I saw on Twitter. If I'm spreading misinformation, I'm very, very sorry, but I think that's in the trailer. So there's going to be some interesting stuff to do with that going forward, I think.
Well, I feel like it would be much less of an issue, if you know what I mean, on PlayStation. It wouldn't really be much of a conversation.
It's not like Sony. If Sony were doing Resident Evil 4 VR in this day and age, I don't feel like they'd have taken the same steps that Facebook took to clean it up a little. If you know what I mean.
Sorry, my chat just froze in here, so I'm just checking on it. Everyone's pointing out, Sony does censorship as well.
Fair,
well, but it's
people's definition of censorship anyway. But
yes. Anyway,
it kind of goes back to what I was talking about in an editorial earlier this week, though, of like, isn't it just a shame that when we're having these conversations about what kind of publisher support could come to VR and where it could end up going, PC VR, if it's going to get any of this, it's just right now, it's going to feel like some sort of like afterthought, right? Like if you're Take-Two, you're probably focusing either on Quest for these smaller scale ports, or if that you are doing the larger scale stuff, you're putting your hopes probably on PSVR 2, right? And then maybe some of it will cross over to Steam if it just kind of makes sense to put it there. And I put out a big editorial that caused a lot of discussion earlier this week about
a lot of hubbub.
It's just a shame there's no one championing PC VR that way. And I don't mean us, because, we try and get to what coverage we can across the board. We don't get to cover every Quest game. We don't get to cover every PSVR game. And we try and get, cool Steam VR releases. We try and highlight them when we can. But I'm not talking about us championing it. That doesn't compare whatsoever to if Valve was out there going to meet with Take-Two and saying, okay, here's some money to help with that, GTA port or whatever.
And some of our expertise as well. right?
Yeah, exactly. And it's such a shame because I feel like that's really missing from PC VR at the moment. And yeah, like Alex was a great thing for VR, but Valve has the resources for sure to at least put a bit more into supporting the VR ecosystem than it is right now in the more traditional consoleized ways. Obviously, they spend a bunch of money keeping Steam VR itself up to date and everything like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's an interesting one. It's such a shame. I hope we can end this time next year with a good set of Quest and PSVR 2 games that have also made their way onto Steam VR or Vive-Pro or well, not the Oculus Store because the Oculus Store is pretty much done for at this point.
Yeah. The Triangulator is hopeful to see what Gabe has got up his sleeve. Who knows? Who knows?
Well, with
go for
Steam Deck, with Steam Deck being delayed, right?
Yeah.
Just seems like that's 2022 is not a VR year for Valve. I mean, that's just the
I don't know.
impression
That's
you're getting.
hardware
Right?
team versus software team.
2021 was not a VR year for Valve. They released Alex. I don't think Alex even got a significant update or anything like this year. Not saying it needs one, but
they got the developer walkthrough talkie bits.
Oh, was that the anniversary thing for a year?
I think
yeah, they did the.
And the Jeff Keighley stuff, was that? Or was that
Jeff Keighley stuff was last
launched?
year.
Yeah.
So really, yeah, Valve hasn't done anything in a significant way for VR, like in a very visible public facing way for VR in like a year and a half now.
It's not out of character for them though, is it?
No, but that's the problem, isn't it? Like you're charging $1,000 for a Valve Index and there's it's like you get a free copy of Alex with that, and then you get, admittedly a lot of older content to play with, but it's not like you're buying you feel like you're buying a PlayStation 5 where you're going to get 7 or 8 more years of support with, God of War and Horizon and all these ridiculously expensive exclusive games, not to mention a whole bunch of third-party support that's also going to be on Xbox and everything like that. You buy an Index right now and you play all that and you think, great, what's next? And you go, well, there's After the Fall, PC versions of some cool Quest games in 2022, probably. Don't know what the next giant, high fidelity PC pushing thing is. Certainly don't know what the next Alex is. Certainly don't know what the next like Medal of Honor Above and Beyond or Lone Echo is. And it's a shame. It's a real shame.
Yeah, it feels like everyone's keeping their cards close to their chest, right?
Yeah.
In terms of VR, everyone.
Yeah, it is for sure. But
anyway,
we'll see. People say the interesting thing about that response. Sorry, I'm just going to go on.
Go for it.
The interesting thing about people that response, the response to that article was so many people were saying, "Yeah, but it also needs hardware." Because I was saying it doesn't need more $2,000 headsets. It needs the games to actually play on them. But the experience you get on Quest on PC right now is fantastic. Like Airlink is so good, and it's still so cheap. So I don't know if that argument washes for me personally, but like I feel like
there's enough range for all different consumers, right? PC VR headsets or the Quest or whatever.
Yeah,
there's enough range there.
But it's so much of a draw when you talk to people that are thinking about buying a Quest 2, and most of the people I know that are thinking about it have probably got a somewhat decent PC. When you then say to them, "Oh, and you can hook that up to play Half-Life Alyx," they're like, jaw hits the floor pretty much, And I don't think I'd recommend any other PC VR headset over a Quest 2 because you're getting the best of both worlds, and so that's not necessarily too much of a problem. I don't think, unless you're pushing for the real high fidelity stuff, and you don't,
that's the only thing.
The kind of compression. Yeah, in which case I'd probably say, we haven't tried it yet, but maybe that new HP Reverb G2 is of interest to you. Certainly of interest to me, but yeah.
Cool.
The Steamy Pickle, I love this comment, says, the only thing pushing PC VR is modders. You're laughing at the Steamy Pickle, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm laughing at Steamy
great
Pickle.
Name. Yeah, that is a great point. The Resident Evil 2 remake mod, fantastic. More of that to come. more Mafia mods just released, and it's getting really, really impressive. The only problem is it's just really, really hard to record that stuff without our PCs blowing up.
Oh god, yeah. I mean, we even upped it to we've got a 2070
3070
Ti. 3070 Ti.
So basically the like
just kind of under the
you can get, yeah.
Yeah. But we still struggle. Like, what the heck do you want from us?
Yeah, well, it's crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just an interesting place for PC VR to be in right now. I really hope it finds its feet and has something more consistent again. But it needs a financial backer at the end of the day for that to happen, and that's just not there. It needs someone to put in the investment consistently, build up that ecosystem, that community, and get the return back. I feel like, honestly, HTC is doing a better job than Valve is at the moment with Viveport. I don't.
Oh gosh, yeah.
I haven't used Viveport in a couple of months, and I always have problems with it technically, but I feel like when you look at the value there, you're like, oh my god, like, that's crazy.
That's the thing. We're not the usual consumers looking for value, are we? We usually, get keys or so on.
That's true. That's very true.
To cover this content. Whereas, if we were normal consumers, I think we'd look at VR a little differently.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, some of those people we are talking about are people that bought Oculus Rifts and HTC Vives back in 2016, right? There are plenty of those people that don't want to, not downgrade, but don't want to get the Quest experience because they have their great PC and they want to keep the headset they've got and keep getting content for it. And that's just not really there at the moment. Till we're all in the M-word verse, the metaverse.
Okay. The metaverse. Have a little sip of your drink there, boys and girls. We are going to move on from this because I feel like this would be your like Grandpa Simpson thing that you could just
moment.
You could just keep going on with it.
Sorry, everyone.
Don't
if you turned off the audio podcast because of this already, I'm sorry. Come back next week. I'll try not to talk about it, I promise.
Let's move on to the big discussion or the big, thing that's happened today. You released your impressions or our impressions, UploadVR's impressions of After the Fall. It's releasing on December 9th for PCVR, PSVR, and Quest 2, with Quest 1 to follow next year. So really, it's the next biggest title for VR, isn't it?
Outside of the Medal of Honor port, I guess, but yeah. Other than that,
yes. Give us a rundown of your thoughts, and does it hold up to that level of graphics?
Yeah, it's been a weird ride with After the Fall, right? We revealed it like 2 years ago at the UploadVR showcase, and I played it at the time, and I remember thinking like this was just as we were starting to like get a hint of how interesting Boneworks could be. And how new and fresh that could feel as a physical experience. And also like Blade and Sorcery and Gorn were coming out and showing us how VR combat could evolve. And here you had something that playing it felt very much like it was doing something really right on the content side, which is this, Left 4 Dead style, doing multiple runs, 4-player co-op, go back to a social hub, and then go out, get better weapons again. And, you have this kind of infinitely replayable VR game, a bit like Stormland, but I feel like they communicated it a lot better than Stormland so that people didn't just like Stormland. You thought that you were going to get a single player campaign out of on the Rift exclusive from Insomniac Games. And it just ended up being kind of this roguelite thing that you didn't realize was going to be a roguelite thing. Here, I thought they communicated the structure of it very, very well. It's just in terms of the gameplay, it still felt like it was kind of Arizona Sunshine-y still, which, for a long time was one of our highest rated VR games, but just has inescapably aged since late 2016. VR design has come a long way since then.
Can I just ask, is that how you say Stormland?
Stormland. Oh, Stormland. No, I just, I have that inbuilt running in-joke where I like to say mun instead of man. And so I've just transferred it to Lund instead of land. Anyway, yeah. So I said in my preview 2 years ago that it's got a really cool structure. I don't know if the gameplay is going to feel too simple to people, But playing it this time, and since then, obviously, it's been delayed for 2 years, and the Quest 2 version's been announced. And they put this huge emphasis on crossplay. So there's PC, there's Quest 2, and there's PSVR, and all of them can play together, or you can turn the crossplay filter off and just play with people on your platform. The thing that really struck me about playing it this time, and not doing it in Vertigo's offices, but doing it here in the UK to meet Vertigo in their offices in Rotterdam, was it was just very, very seamless to get online and be in a hub. I didn't have to search for the person I was going to be partying up with. Granted, that's because the instances weren't full, so there weren't multiple instances. But I didn't have to friend request them or anything like that. They were kind of there, ready to greet me, which I thought was a super slick kind of moment. And you just kind of point at them. There's an icon above their head. You click above their head, and then you click party up, and there you go. You can jump into the different runs together effortlessly as that. If you do have friends, there's a bit more. If you do have friends, there's a bit more to it.
There's
you have to
called
enter
friends.
Yeah, you have to enter a friend code, but they say tighter friend integration is coming post launch. But that's just the seamlessness of it, especially that crossplay stuff, is so cool. Because if I am the kind of PC VR gamer that wants the high-end experience, the best fidelity, and I want to play on my new Vario Aero or my Vive Pro 2 or my HB Reverb G2, it's a really, really good-looking game. On screen right now, we have the PC VR version, and I think it looks pretty good. And then you've probably got friends this Christmas that are going to buy an Oculus Quest 2. And you can say, oh, cool, man. Or not, man. Download this game, and here's my friend code, and we can play the same game together. Just as easy as that. And again, I'm going to say the word again. It just kind of for the more than 2 hours of Mark Zuckerberg showing CG robots on a basketball court, it was way more of a I kind of understand the kind of compelling social aspect of this always online universe where I can just meet up with friends a bit more because of this. Because we all just have these devices. No, I'm not going to say anymore. We all just have these devices in our homes where we don't really have to think too much about putting it on and being in the same space as each other. And I think that's really, really impressive. I realize at this point I really haven't talked about the gameplay. The gameplay's good. The gameplay, if you've played Back 4 Blood recently, or if you've played Aliens Fireteam Elite, which, me being me, that's the one I've played far more than Back 4 Blood. I think you're gonna like it. I would say it's just as polished as Back 4 Blood, which was, I don't think was everyone's cup of tea, but definitely if you needed that Left 4 Dead itch scratched, it did the trick. What they've done since I played it 2.5 years ago is no, we're not talking about San Andreas. Can you put it back on? What they've done since I played it 2.5 years ago was they've added in an immersive reload option. So Arizona had that kind of body mounted Amazon magazine clips that you would just swipe your weapon onto to reload, and you can still do that here, and it makes the shooting a lot easier. But you can also do the full press a button to eject a clip, reload that clip, pull the charging handle, and be good to go again. And that's actually I'm really glad they got that in there, even though it doesn't quite fit with the pace of the gameplay. It makes the pace of the gameplay a fair bit harder. But because it makes the gameplay a fair bit harder, you get 50% more reward at the end of the level. Harvest is what they call it. So there's actually a very tangible difference. And the Vertigo developer I was playing with used the kind of normal action reload mechanic, and I used immersive. And even though he got more kills and everything during the match, I had way more harvest at the end of the level. So it felt like a very good, tangible benefit to using that. And then you've got stuff you've got the stuff that you would expect. So on the screen right now, we have small mini bosses that pop up that do different things. There's a guy called the Juggernaut who can pick you up. It's not the Juggernaut from X-Men, but just to get that out there. He kind of picks you up and he can one-hit kill
Jones.
you. It's Vinnie Jones. It does look a bit like Vinnie Jones. He can pick you up and kill you in one hit unless everyone kind of focuses their fire to take him down as soon as possible. Or there's a bloated one called the Eater that is, your kind of usual. If he gets very close to you, he explodes. He looks exactly like the same monster in Back 4 Blood if you've played Back 4 Blood, which is quite interesting. And then you've got floppy disks you can find hidden in the environment, which if you take to a safe room and put in the arcade cabinets, then survive the run, you're going to get extra weapon attachments at the end and everything like that. So there's a bit of like, oh, I cannot die here because I found like 3 floppy disks. I'm going to really benefit from this run. So there's some like high stakes action towards the end when you get like the bigger boss battles. And all of that it just seems good. It just seems solid. And I think it's going to give people a lot of what they want when you pair so it's a bit like Demio earlier this year, where we said, Demio was a good, fun, tactical game. It had its flaws, it had its problems. If it was a flat screen game, you'd probably be talking a 3 or a 4 out of 5. But because of the social aspect that actually really made it feel like you were sitting with your friends having a proper board game night, that kind of elevated. That kind of feels the same here. It's because you've got this huge adventure that you can go on with other people, no matter what headset they have, really. It feels like it's really going to benefit from that. And, it's going to be an easy recommendation for people to be like, oh yeah, go grab After the Fall because I've got a PC, you've got a PSVR, and we can play that very, very easily. The thing I'm concerned about, just to touch on the last thing, basically, is what's going to be there on day one. Because this level is a level called Skid Row, I think. And, it's in LA, so it's Skid Row. It took about 20 minutes to see through, 25 minutes to see through. And we had an interview before with Tam2, the community manager who I was playing with, who said
in the
that,
chat.
like,
shout out to Tam2. What up, my boy?
Hey, Tam2. Good to see you.
If you want to see Tam2 talk about the game a little bit more, check out our interview with him on this YouTube channel. Please carry on, Jimmy.
Thank you. So if you're getting more familiar with the levels, you'll be able to do faster and faster runs. So I don't know to hand exactly how many levels are going to be at launch and exactly how long-term progression is going to look. But I'm hoping there's going to be enough in there in that base package that people aren't going to be like, it'd be such a shame to have all of this work done and then there only be a couple of levels that people can see through and not enough reason to keep going back and back. There are 4 difficulty modes, so that if you're upgrading weapons, you're going to be able to progress to the higher modes later down the line. But you're going to want a lot of good new content, and I'm hoping the game will supply.
Someone just asked, but or something asked. So is this crossplay? I believe it is.
Yeah. That's the big thing. So yes. Quest 2. PSVR, PCVR, just as soon as you turn it on, you can turn it off if you want. And then there's a Quest 1 version coming later down the line, which I think Vertigo is still saying they plan to have full crossplay support for. Whether that ends up actually being possible, I don't know. And also, again, ask Tam2 in the chat, but he won't be able to answer, I'm sure. The prospect of this being on PSVR 2 next year, which is not an announced thing or whatever, that's a very, very cool draw, especially if you can carry over your progress and everything like that as well. So it's released, even though it's delayed by 2 years, it's kind of releasing at an interesting time, really, because Quest 2 is really
like
picking
you
up
said,
hype and
it's propped up by non-VR games as well. The interest in these types of games have come back massively. And to be honest, when I first saw this 2 years ago, I thought it would be a kind of clunky shooter that wouldn't necessarily be my kind of vibe. But after seeing this gameplay and reading through your impressions, I'm kind of into it. And I didn't expect to be at all.
You love Left 4 Dead, right? And I think it's also fair to say that me and you also actually aren't the biggest fans of Arizona Sunshine. I get why people got it back then, because they wanted someone to answer the call for more content, new campaigns, and Vertigo did a great job supporting it. But personally for me, I needed VR to make that extra couple of steps on to make the gunplay more engaging and everything like that. And I feel like we're going to kind of get that here. So yeah, looking good, looking promising, with some reservations
it is looking
about,
good.
How much content is going to be there.
Absolutely. But yeah, again, this footage here, for those of you watching on YouTube, this was filmed on PC VR, and it was supplied by Vertigo Games.
Yep, that is true. I mean, one other thing to point out, which I'm quite excited about, is it's an aim controller game on PSVR, and that is always that's always one of those things where you say, "Oh yeah, it's coming to Quest 2 and it's coming to PC VR," and then there's a PSVR version, but you're like, "Yeah, but do you really want to plug in your PlayStation VR and fight the Move controllers in this day and age?" For this, like the aim controller, it's the same as Sniper Elite, right? Like that adds a very interesting new way to play the game. And so
what about dual wielding?
Well, so when Arizona came out on PSVR, Vertigo went back, retooled the entire campaign so that if you used a aim controller, you only really had rifles in the game. I think there was like one or two instances where you used a pistol. So I think that'll probably be what ends up happening here. You might not dual wield. You might just have a one-handed pistol. But yeah, that's exciting. Crossplay is always such a cool thing, and it works so great on so many VR games. I think it really was absolutely crucial to this, because it was so crucial to Back 4 Blood at the end of the day. Just looking out along the wider ecosystem, I have two friends that had Game Pass. I had a Steam account. I had a friend with a I had a friend with a PS5, and it didn't matter for once. There was no really hard coordination that meant none of us ever really got to play it. We just all played it without even thinking about it. Didn't even have to worry about like friends and too much like that. So I think it's such a huge boon for the game. That is going to be really, really important to it, especially moving into next year. When as we've heard from Vertigo, they're planning to roll out new maps and updates and everything like that. So it's definitely going to be one to watch in less than a month from now, which is crazy to think about.
Yeah, so again, it's coming out on December 9th for PC VR, PSVR, and Quest 2, with Quest 1 coming next year. It seems like people are very, very positive about this as well, outside of our impressions.
We're getting a lot of questions asking if we've compared it on other platforms. No, we haven't had the chance to do that yet. I think have we seen Quest 2 gameplay in a video? Maybe we have, maybe we haven't. I can't remember.
I can't remember that exactly.
But I'll be interested to see. And I've asked before, and Vertigo have said, enemy count is going to be the same across platforms. And
interesting.
I mean, it has to be at the end of the day, because Quest 2 is going to be far and away where most people play it at the end of the day. So they have to nail that version. And they already did a pretty good job on Quest 1? Arizona. Well, that's why it's getting delayed.
Yeah.
It's so funny how it went from this small kind of trickle of Resident Evil 2 got announced as the first Quest exclusive, and I remember John Carmack being like, "Yeah, hopefully this won't happen too much." And then within less than a month of Resident Evil 4 releasing, we've also got this Medal of Honor and Blade and Sorcery all doing it. So that's quite funny.
Awesome. So there you have it. Those were our impressions of After the Fall. And that just about wraps up this week's pod. I knew you said this week's podcast. Yeah, it is. It's a pretty solid week. No, it's not this month. Next week, heads up, I think we may pre-record the episode.
There's a thing going on, isn't there? Oh, well, we'll see.
Something's happening. I can't remember.
We're away in the evening, but we might have time.
Oh, yes.
We'll see what's happening.
We'll see. But anyway, you can join us every Thursday, same time, same place. If you've joined us on a streaming platform, thank you very much. And we'll see you guys next week.
If you didn't,
go for it.
Sorry, just me being me. Right at the start of the podcast, if you didn't hear, and I'm gonna just shamelessly plug it again. UploadVR showcase back December 2nd. New game reveals, new trailers, new gameplay. Can't find the graphic for it right now, but there it is. On the screen right now.
Oh, good. Okay, I thought you were going to do the numbered graphic, which everyone got very confused about.
December 2nd, 2021. Just in case you're wondering, we did not announce a new showcase a year and a month in advance.
So yeah, just in like 3 weeks or something. Anyway, check out UploadVR.com for the latest in VR. Make sure you are subscribed. Hit the notifications button. Like this video. See you next week.
See you guys. Thanks for stopping by.